Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Tower podcast. No surprise, it is a Wheel of Time podcast. My name is Andrew.
My name is Josh.
And my name is Daniel.
We're going to pretend that I didn't almost say
before
that
we
my
get-
name was Daniel.
Pause for dramatic emphasis.
Yep,
Weird.
I actually almost did.
And before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, we want to go ahead and put on some protection. You always want to protect your Black Tower from getting bad things happening
Wrap it
to
before
it.
you tap it.
So, if you have not read all the way through the series, including and through the Gathering Storm, you are in danger of
You
being
gotta catch
spoiled.
them. You can't get rid of. I
Now,
promise you.
we are mostly going to be talking about the Gathering Storm. So definitely have read that book. But we'll probably be referencing other things that happened earlier, so you should also know that. But yeah, hi guys.
You
have been
This is true. Welcome to this week's Dose of Madness.
Indeed. As most of you are already aware, I'll let Andrew finish what we're talking about. But it is the first Wednesday of the month, which means that it will be the first Friday of the month in a couple of days, and that's when this episode will drop. So we're due for a what, Andrew?
book review.
Book
Review. That was horrible.
We tried.
Well,
That was really bad.
It's the thought that counts in
Yep.
this holiday season.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
True. Merry
Bang.
Christmas,
Happy New
baby!
Year. Bang, bang, bang.
Love it.
I don't want
Ain't
a
she's
lot
not in
for
charge no more.
Christmas. There is just one thing I
don't you
need.
don't you go,
I just
Mariah.
want a
Don't you go,
book
Mariah.
review about the Wheel of Time.
Well, I thought you were just going to ask for a Black Tower that actually works.
I mean, that would
We'll
be
get you
nice.
some of that bone apple tea.
Hey.
I don't need that. I just
Welcome to the Black Tower.
I just need my
Yay.
a dedicated
girl?
Aes Sedai would be plenty.
All right.
It's like putting an assassin's dagger in a
The
great
amount
sheath.
of accurate but shady that was. Woof.
Shade thrown. Shots fired.
I'm sorry, young man. You cannot experience this until your sword is big enough for your sheath.
Just
your
because
milk,
they call it a
little
boner
asshole.
doesn't mean that it has anything to do with bones. So milk shouldn't help.
Doesn't actually have bones in it.
If the rest of you grows
I
big and strong, then you can
mean,
hope that grows big and strong. Though
you're
that's not the
not
case
wrong.
with steroids, so there might be a flaw in the theory.
Point.
But what steroids have taught us is that there's apparently a medical ratio for amount of male member size loss to muscle gain. So we have the potential to incredibly bulk up at the cost of our often most valued part.
Right?
But
Just
once
steroids
you
it
reach a
up,
certain age where it's not
motherfucker.
really used as frequently anymore, why not sacrifice? Why not sacrifice and die an old but extremely swole man? Sometimes
I think you'll
the
find
greatest
our will
sacrifices
is
require
equal
the
to
strongest
yours.
wills.
Oh boy.
I don't.
Oh boy. So now that we've started this off on the right foot,
We have an army.
The
We have
third
a whole-
foot.
hey-oh.
As always.
I see what you did there.
Oh,
Oh yeah, we're
Gathering
talking about something, aren't we?
So the Gathering Storm.
Oh yeah.
It is the 12th. It is the 12th novel in the Wheel of Time series. It was originally thought that it would be under the super title "A Memory of Light." It was originally thought it was going to be book
It was
one
originally supposed to be
Light.
the
Is that
final.
how they wrote it?
book.
Yeah, book one of A Memory of
Well,
Light.
It was supposed to be A Memory of Light.
Yes, so it was going to be A Memory of Light, and it was just going to be one book. And then they decided to come out with it in 3 parts,
That's
and
true.
this was the first of those 3 parts.
Yes, this is, and that's
Yes. And originally it was called The Gathering Cloud. And then they finally changed the name to The Gathering Storm, which I think is
right. And this is
definitely
so
a
incidentally,
very good
along
choice.
with that, as many of you have surmised, it is the first book since Robert Jordan's passing, and was published by Brandon Sanderson.
Correct.
Who ooh, I got the hiccups.
Oh, no.
Who worked very closely with Robert Jordan up until he died, and also worked very closely with
Are you
Harriet
going to live through
after.
this?
I don't know.
All right.
It's possible I might not. The madness is particularly bad tonight.
I mean, you did.
But he worked.
You didn't pound your gingerbread.
No, I did not.
Stout,
it's
so
still here. I've still
I
got.
don't know how you're hiccuping so much.
You didn't pound your gingerbread man, did you?
It's the laughter.
Fair
all
enough.
the laughter I've been doing.
The only way you can tell he's been
Like an
drinking
old
is
Disney
'cause he's
cartoon.
trying
The
to
only way
pound
you can tell he's been
gingerbread man.
drinking is because he hiccups.
I live, laugh, and love, motherfuckers.
Lies.
That's right. I went there.
Lies.
So, on March 25th of 2009, in a joint statement from Tor Books, Harriet Rigney, or Harriet McDougal as we know her, and Brandon Sanderson, they announced that A Memory of Light would in fact be released in 3 parts,
Right.
starting on October
Just after I
27th,
graduated high school.
2009. The Gathering
do
Storm
that. I
did.
is in normal release.
God damn it.
Really?
Yes. Not by much.
What?
How old are you? That's right. You are older than me, aren't you?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh.
I didn't
Now,
gra-
granted, I
didn't
would have
graduate high
I
school
would
until,
have
2011.
graduated 2010, but I skipped first grade, so I was a year ahead of everybody in school, or a year behind
Ooh.
everybody in age, whichever one you want to go ahead.
had
You
that-
put all the shapes in the right.
You had that
first.
complex from Rand being your older brother.
I did. I just needed to be so goddamn impressive. Yeah.
That's true.
He's so powerful.
2 plus 2 is
dumb.
4.
I'll be the
Minus
smart one.
1, that's
I
3.
actually-
Quick maths.
So starting,
I actually remember hearing the news that Brandon Sanderson was going to be finishing off the series. At the time,
I do as well.
oh
yeah.
God, I'm gonna die. At the time, I had no idea who Brandon Sanderson was,
Dammer!
and
Dammer, we need your
I
healing.
was like, right, man down. At the time, I didn't know who it was, so I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
snap.
cool! They found someone to finish the series." I was very, very excited about it. But I remember people getting upset that he was doing 3 books instead of 1.
Yes.
And people were like, "Oh, it's a cash grab! It's a cash grab! It's a cash grab!" And I was like, "You know what? I don't think so. Because where did we leave off in Knife of Dreams? Like, there was not a lot going on. Well, there was a lot going on, and for them to just wrap it up in one single,
Installment.
book, I thought, I thought that was ambitious.
No, definitely.
And
And I
so-
mean, it is suggested that the last book was going to be 1,500 pages, which is actually
Yeah.
longer than any of the other books, but
Yep.
not by enough that it seems like it would be enough to close out the series.
For sure.
Yes, so
Yep,
they
the
actually
Gathering
lowered
Storm
the number
is
of pages in each book, but made
1,120
it
or so
3
in normal
instead
release.
of just 1.
Right. And it's, I mean, so I, and then, so the 2 thoughts that I had was, the initial thought I had was, you're telling me I get 3 books instead of 1? Like, Why would anybody complain about that? I get more Wheel of Time.
I mean, to be fair,
chill.
3 Hobbit movies was a bad idea. So I'm not saying that you're not right, that this particular series is amazing and therefore I want more of it. But at the same time, we've also seen more go badly.
Apples and oranges, my friend, because we're not talking about an adaptation of a movie that is based on an already published book. We are talking about a story that has not been written, that is being continued. So at this point in time, we didn't have a full story that someone came back to and was like, I think I could add more content to this story. Oh.
No, you're right.
No, that's not.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
We had yeah.
You're right.
We had 11 books, and we were like, we got to finish this series out. We got to find out what happens. And Brandon Sanderson was like, you guys, there's a lot of information here.
God, can you imagine Brandon Sanderson
I can't do this in one book.
going to Robert Jordan's notes, just taking a look at them and being like, all right, cool, yeah, 1,500 pages. And then starting to write them and just being like, oh, God. Oh, God.
See, that was my impression as to what happened, too. See, and
I was contracted under false pretense.
If I remember properly, that's kind of what happened. He kind of jumped in, and after Robert Jordan died, he and Harriet sat down and were going over notes, and he had started writing, some of his own. He started making his own contributions to the series.
Indeed.
And of course, a lot of these things Robert Jordan himself had written, and they left it untouched. So I feel like Brandon Sanderson sat down, started writing it, started making his contributions, and went, Harriet, there's way too much here for one book.
And I just love, again, look at just the size of the last battle, which is actually one of the things that Robert Jordan had actually just put together and had written that they didn't want to mess with. And it's longer. It's like 400 pages by itself or something like ridiculous like that. So if you're talking about a 1,500 page book and like 400 pages of that is the last battle, you're talking about not really having that much time or page is, if you will, to get to where you need to be for that 400 page last battle.
Exactly.
So agreed. I could not agree more that it was, while I don't necessarily think that it needed to be 3, I also don't have a problem with that. And I think that it was the right decision to not just make it 1. Totally right. With them. And as you also said, I completely agree with, while I do not agree with it in every context, we get more Wheel of Time. So really it's a win-win.
Exactly. It really is, though. So anyway, Andrew, go ahead and give your statistical
yes
of the stories, because I really love starting out with that.
Yes. So it is, as we have said, 1,120 pages long. It contains 50 chapters,
12 chapters,
not including the prologue and epilogue. And has 28 and has 28 distinct succulent point of views. Of some of these, though, you will notice that there are certain characters that do not get a point of view that we have come to be used to.
Correct.
Elaine does not get a point of view chapter in this, or even a section. She is referenced, but she doesn't get to speak in this book. Sit back and rule your.
You got the last 2 books to figure out all of Camelin. How about you calm down?
Right. On your succession,
we've got 2 books on just politics. All right, we're ready for some action.
2 books
action
were episode 2 of Star Wars.
Yes. Except better acted.
So,
because
the
what
number
a garbage
1
set of movies.
Yeah. The except for Hayden Christensen, fantastic actor.
Sorry, you say that as though that's some actor's name, not just some garbage human being who somehow got into movies.
Y'all, Daniel's triggered.
I'm not triggered. I have opinions.
Shiver me triggers.
Kind of sounds like you're triggered, though.
No.
Anyway, this is actually Egwene's book.
So in this one, Egwene gets
Kind of.
Don't
Yeah.
you take
Well, it's
this from
Egwene and
Egwene.
because yeah. She doesn't. This is the first book where she does something that's truly,
not
truly
only
worth
truly
deserving.
deserving of
Well, maybe
you know,
not the
whatever,
first,
but it's the one where she like actually really does it by herself too. Because almost everything that she does is
yeah.
with
I mean, she
the
does
help
get.
of
She has
others.
the
In
predominant.
this book, she's like, no. I am a badass.
Yeah, and she does get the most percentage wise of POV to include 97% of the epilogue, but Egwene's POV makes up like literally the slightest smidge over 21% of the book, 21.08, followed by Rand who gets 14.91, and then Matt gets 10.75. Unfortunately, Galwin gets 6.81, which is unavoidable whenever Egwene is around. Suwan gets 4.86. If she's not your bae, she should be your bae. Avienda gets
Who's actually
4.73.
bae?
Min gets 4.36, of which part of it we will talk about.
I know.
You did.
You did,
Yeah.
though. It
Avienda's
happened.
going to be so
Avienda's
pissed.
yeah,
What?
Avienda's going to stab you. Prepare to be stabbed.
Min can be bae, but Avienda is
I mean,
the
seeing
bae.
as how
Are you
she's one of
saying- are you
three
saying-
Avienda
bays,
is
I'm
the
pretty
bae.
sure that you're just certifiably incorrect.
I think. Are you saying that?
Wow.
Are you saying that?
I'm pretty sure that Elaine doesn't really count as a
Shade.
No.
It is darker in here. It is all of a sudden very much darker in here. Elaine, do you hear this shit?
It is the
I
black.
feel
She
like-
listens. She just doesn't
No, she's not
speak.
in this book.
Wow.
I think
She finally
Wow.
learned to
I was
shut
gonna
her
ask-
mouth.
I
for
think
one.
it's interesting. I think it's
I still
interesting
love
that
Elaine,
you're
but
accusing
it's just
Min of
too easy.
being a side bitch.
Yeah. When she's main bitch for like most of the books.
No, she's not a side bit. Actually, the sad
Now,
part is
granted,
she
I
is
will
Rand's
also
main
admit
bit.
that it's not totally fair to go ahead and say that because Avienda and Elaine have actually set themselves up not as more well-rounded people, but as people who are involved in more activities. And so they do actually have more responsibilities before and during the time that they meet Rand. Min doesn't do fucking
I don't know.
anything
Based on their
as
descriptions, they are
far
more
as
well-rounded.
like responsibilities and promises that she's made before she meets Rand. Her responsibilities and her promises are all centered on Rand. So it's a little unfair to go ahead and just be like Min's main bae, because she is.
Yeah, well, Min
but
does.
she like makes herself main bae.
Min does get more
You know,
more dragon rise than anybody.
Here's what I
else,
have to
so.
say. Oh God,
I'm
Damn
gonna
it.
come
Here's what I
over
have to
there
say
and
about-
frame you.
I know, right? Here's what I have
Here's
to
what I
say
have to-
about Min. I like Min. I do. However, as a character, I feel like she has two jobs, right? One job. One job is
Fuck Josh!
to
Did it
see
work?
visions. Ah, no.
Damn it.
And really, while those visions are a really cool sort of foreshadowing device, they're not entirely necessary because they and again, through my reread, I'm in book 4 now through my reread, and they always say, every time they mention Min's visions, they go, "Oh, doesn't matter if she knows what it means, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it." And I'm like, okay, then there's no really point for Min except for to see visions. And then her second job is to be the woman on Rand's arm at particular times in the book. Like I don't She is.
She is
Yeah,
Rand's
she
ground.
does.
Honestly, she grounds Rand more so than any other character
And Tom,
can or has.
actually.
Well, yeah,
I
that's a
like
good point.
Tom is
damn.
not a bad answer either. But yeah. So I
But it's just
don't totally
Yeah.
disagree, but it does actually there is a part of that I still think is interesting, even though it sort of doesn't matter in some ways. Because again, you are absolutely right that every time they talk about Min, they are like, hey, if she knows what it means and she tells you what it means, that's what happens. It's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do to stop it or to make it happen sort of like differently enough to make a difference. However, I
Right.
actually really appreciate two things about that. Number one, Robert Jordan, throughout the 11 books that he wrote, and Brandon Sanderson through the 3 that he wrote, did a very good job, in my humble opinion, of actually making the things that Min says is going to happen still happen in
Right.
interesting ways that you didn't necessarily expect. And number two,
Absolutely.
it actually does throw in a huge philosophical piece, which I don't think is like incredibly necessary, but is actually really fun and interesting to think about. Again, Min regularly says, though it's not quite every time, that her telling people about her visions sometimes causes her visions. Her not telling people about her visions sometimes causes her visions. And so her knowing what they mean and knowing what's going to happen and doing things like that still plays out in very interesting ways, because sometimes it's a very interesting moment to see where Rand causes Min's visions because he knows they're happening or they're going to happen, versus when Rand causes one of Min's visions because he doesn't know about it or something along those lines. And again, even though you sort of know they're going to happen, even though you can't stop them, even though you can't change them, it is still a very interesting device, just because there's so much more around it than just will it or won't it.
Exactly. And
with some other characters,
I was just going to say,
notable
and I don't mean
ahead,
to
actually, Josh.
to downplay Min at all, because I really like Min as a character. But when we start talking about how she adds to the plot or how she moves the plot along, it's just kind of like, this is someone I could see getting cut from the show because she just doesn't have a lot of plot.
Yeah. As far as a plot device, Min. Yeah, as far as a plot device, Min isn't a great plot device. But as far as
oh, did we lose Andrew?
I think we lost Andrew.
A little, but you're back.
My mic sounds nice, Jack 5.
That's what happened. Okay. So as I was saying, so as far as a plot device, Min doesn't really do anything for plot advancement. But as far as like a plot enhancer or accessory,
that was what I was
Rand,
actually about to say when you were talking about it. Because again, if I'm gonna be completely honest, my preference for both looks and personality actually goes to Elaine. As far as, of the 3 of Rand's wives, which one I would rather be with. However, I think that she's the weakest as far as what actually makes Rand, and does a bunch of other things, absolutely, that are kind of important, and I'm not trying to take away from her, but is kind of the weakest of Rand's 3 wives. I would actually probably say that Min is the biggest one as far as Rand's wives,
as much as
and she also has a good deal of plot and whatnot that she does, though a lot of that is actually tied up in Rand.
And as shocking as this for me to say, I I disagree. And if I had to pick the one of his three wives that contributes the least to his overall status as a character, as much as I hate to say it because I do love Avienda so much, it is Avienda. Because all Avienda does for him is help him understand one culture, where Elaine, it basically essentially works and teaches Rand how to be a ruler, how to be a king, how to manage his people and resources. And Min's part is, to me, by far the most crucial because the critical times where Rand needs to be a human, he needs to feel, he needs to be grounded to humanity. Min is there and makes it happen. He even says it. You're the only person that
So
I feel that I can relax
again
and be myself around.
totally I very much appreciate where that's coming from, and I don't disagree. Um, as far as Min making him human and whatnot, I will also say that that's
But
again, Avienda's gonna kill you. But part of that is because she does so much more than just teach him about the Aiel. Like that is her
no better way
primary
to die.
function. That is what she is set up to do by the wise ones, is to spy on him sort of and teach him Aiel ways. And one of the things that I think he actually gets out of that relationship is not just an understanding of Aiel, but actually what it takes to make a warrior. Because again, that's what the Aiel are. And he actually learns so
Right.
much more about himself coming from the Aiel. Even though he wasn't raised in Aiel culture, even though he was totally outside of that for, 18 years, 20 years, whatever it is, he is absolutely still blood of the Aiel, which brings him back to his origins, which is huge. And I feel like Avienda makes him hard. Min softens him. I know. Shut the fuck
Well,
up.
and remember too, this is when
Aw.
Rand
And both
is
of those
having
are
his
very
big
important.
and this is when Rand is having his big sort of existential crisis of, is it better to be hard or better to be strong? And he's going back and forth, hard or strong, hard or strong. And I think that, along with your point, Daniel, where, Avienda kind of teaches him how to be a warrior, that is actually important because, being a warrior is not just being a good killer.
Correct.
Anybody can be a good killer, but being a warrior is understanding, sort of the spiritual, and I don't want to say that, I don't want to sound too, healy feely or anything like that, but there is a spiritual aspect of combat. And it was that the Aiel used to hone themselves as the people of the dragon, to be a spear that for the dragon in the last battle. And Avienda kind of teaches him that, and I feel like some of that teaching, some of that learning, helps him, in combination with Min, keeping him grounded.
Yes.
That's a really great point on your hand, Andrew. I just throughout this conversation, talking about his three bays, I feel like each one of them give him something he vitally needs in order to be what the world needs as a savior at the last battle.
Yes.
And I really think that's kind of a fun sort of perspective to take on it. Is you have Avienda, who teaches him, the understanding of spiritual need of combat and how to deal with those types of things, and how to deal with commanding armies and commanding, different things, because as you have to be able to survive through that in one piece mentally. And that's probably a lot of that helped him stave off the madness for a while. And then you've got Min, who's teaching him, look, just because you think you're the Dragon Reborn, just because you're a king, doesn't mean you didn't start out as a shepherd.
And I'm going to keep reminding you, sheep herder.
Exactly. And then you've got Elaine, who, like you were saying, Andrew, teaches him, hey, this is how you lead a nation. It's not just sitting on a throne and barking orders. There's real responsibility here. You have to understand your people, understand what they need. And I think in that sense, and this is like I said, this is a perspective I've never thought of before. I really like that he gets sort of a trifecta of leadership training from those amazing women, and I really like that.
That's actually one of the things that I fucking loved about Wheel of Time Forever.
No, that's a
is
really
that
good point. And I would have to
sometimes
agree.
people just boil it down to kind of an obnoxious, like, Robert Jordan is a little chauvinistic because the only person who actually, or there are the culture that has multiple wives, and the only character that has multiple wives really seems to only show the multiple wives situation. There's no like multiple husbands. There's no, and that's a little chauvinistic. And it's like, no. I'm not
Which
going
is
to
actually
say
not true.
completely that there wasn't or isn't an aspect of this was written by a guy, but all of these women do so much for his psyche and his abilities to be, as you said, the world's savior at the last battle. And if you tried to actually make Min, Avienda, and Elaine sort of one person, it would be at best totally unbelievable, and at worst completely ridiculous. And so the fact that it is actually three people makes so much more sense.
I am going to have to put a pin in this conversation because we are dangerously approaching territory of a future episode, which doesn't need to be a secret because we do relationship analysis after we do the character analysis of every person
That's
involved.
true. I think we actually just did the whole thing.
That critical danger.
Actually, we'll actually just talk about the Gathering Storm next week. This week is just...
We're still going to call it like our Gathering Storm book review, but we're just not going to talk about the Gathering Storm.
But
take
continue
that for
with the statistics, because that's what we actually started.
Yeah. So some other notable characters that get POV in the Gathering Storm is our Nynaeve gets some about almost 9%.
Dude, Nynaeve
Suwon gets almost 5%.
Now that she's with Lan.
Shut the fuck up.
That's a relationship episode.
We did that relationship.
Catswing gets just over 4%. Tuon gets almost 4%. Poor Perrin only gets about 3%. Our good old Greek captain Rodel Iterade gets just under 2.5%. Fael talks a little less after all of her speeches in Winter's Heart and everything at 1.3%. Brendal gets 26% of the prologue. We get to see old Bryony or Bryn.
Bernie,
but I still like him.
Feel Bernie. The Bryn.
I like Bryony.
We get let's see. Mesama gets 11% of the prologue, coming in at just under 0.5% from the entire book. And the asshole ruler-in-chief, Elida, gets a measly 0.1%, which makes up 4% of Chapter 41. And it is such a satisfying 4% of Chapter 41 that I can't wait till we talk about that shit.
Oh, we'll get there.
Because you get what you fucking deserve.
You reap what you sow,
so
Elida.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Elida.
God, she's such a wretch.
She's such a
bitch. Contrary to Weekly World News, you were not able to make the tower great.
No, she's not. Even in like,
it's almost like everyone who tries to make something great again fails.
Anyway, whenever you meet her, even the first time you meet her, when Rand, climbs over the wall, and Matt and Rand are in Camelin in book 1, and Elida sees Rand and notices that he has a heron-marked sword, a shepherd from the 2 rivers with a heron-marked sword.
Dude,
she does this really shitty little thing.
Did you get cast as Elida? Because that was amazing.
I wish I would. Dude, I'd be a badass.
Wicked Witch of the West.
But she does this shitty little thing.
Rand Althor, and your little dog, too.
That's far too accurate for Elida, actually.
she does this shitty little thing where Morghese says, tell me the whole truth and speak it plainly. And so Elida says, okay, this kid is, he's a kid with a Herrenmark sword and he's a little young. And then she like whispers it as silently as she can so that only Rand can hear. And she's like, who is very important to the entire world, or whatever she does. But she like basically calls him out as being very, very dangerous and very significant. But she does it in such a way that she's doing that shitty Aes Sedai, speak the truth but not speak the truth kind of thing. And then she like smirks at Rand like, I dare you to call me out on it. I'm like, oh, you're a bitch. Like from day one, you're a bitch. And so like, this is where we finally get, and we'll get there, but this is where Elida's uppins finally come.
Or what?
Her uppins.
Her uppins come.
She gets her comeuppance.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Her uppins come all over the
when
place.
You throw up after a blowjob?
Wow.
I've never thrown up after a blowjob, Andrew.
What? Dude, I throw up every time. I thought that's just how they ended.
How do you think I keep this voluptuous figure?
I thought that's why you needed the towel.
That's why I was always confused when they said I need a cup. Like, that's all you throw up? Weep.
Hey guys.
Thank you for listening to the Black Tower Podcast.
Hey,
that's all we have for tonight,
hey
folks.
guys.
Good night.
Hey guys. What did Cinderella say when she got to the ball?
Oh no. I knew that was coming.
Uh-huh.
Hey-oh!
So was the prince. Oh!
So anyway.
Wow. We're a mess, guys.
So, if there was ever a podcast that's going to get shut down for sexual innuendos and not being PC.
Right. Wheel of Time on Prime
Tower.
is going to be like, let's talk to all the Wheel of Time podcasts. Oh, except for the Black
Guys,
Tower.
we were going to have you on like to interview you and your experience, but then we listened to your book review on The Gathering Storm.
Yeah, all of the
and
rest
decided
of
we
the episodes
were-
are fine, but you just need to delete that one episode.
And like, obviously, you haven't listened to them all. What was that? Nothing?
Yeah. No, it's just
So-
the Gathering
Listen to
Storm
the
review.
one-
That's it. We'll definitely take that one down. Not a problem. It's only that one.
It gives us a chance to do it again. That's fine.
I'll do it again.
Guys, I think here's what our story should be. And all of our listeners, you comment and let us know if you think this is a valid excuse. I mean, explanation. All we have to do is blame the taint. It's the madness.
Dude,
it's not us.
there has
That's
never
not
been
blamed
a
for my reasoning
point
saying notice
in my life where I haven't blamed my taint.
Why did you cheat on me? Had to be my asshole.
It was my
It was
taint.
the area between my asshole and my balls.
You mean the gooch?
The taint.
You wolf. You wolf. You
Which really
cocking
begs the
wolf.
question why Gucci Man calls himself Gucci Man.
No, it
given what the
doesn't.
gooch is.
The Gathering Storm.
Gucci Mane called
Yay.
himself Gucci Mane because it's Gucci. Now, granted, you can go ahead and talk about whether Gucci is a good name for a company, but that's a different
because
discussion.
all that makes me think of is the horrible summer smell mix between sweaty balls and asshole.
So Randall Thor and Egwene Alf here.
Both have taints.
Both have gooches.
Egwene, this is basically
And let's
her
be
story.
honest,
This is,
during
I mean,
the summer,
this is basically
especially
her
that
story.
one summer, they probably both had very smelly taints.
It was pretty hot.
Egwene
The dark
Alfir,
one.
this is her book.
The Dark One's taint was touching
Yeah.
the world.
So
So-
all the annoying moments that we've had to have deal with Egwene, all the character development we've seen, the Egwene go from the very kind of aloof Beltane bride to be to Ran to the very
Snoot.
self-righteous, snooty
Yeah.
girl.
She's
That's
a
like,
snoot.
Perrin, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to go dance with Ram because he thinks I'm cute. and Rand never did this for me.
But then I'm going to be
to-
jealous when Rand is dancing with other women
Oh
or
yeah.
smiling at other women. Like,
I mean, this is the reason that open
All the way
relationships don't
to-
work, guys. It's only okay when you're doing it.
I swear I won't be jealous. It's a trap. Abort
Don't
mission.
do it.
All the way to the Egwene we see that gets trained by the wise ones and discovers what honor means and humility, and what a real spanking is like.
Heyo.
All the way to the now Amerlin ruler of the Rebel Aes Sedai, and now as a yet again prisoner. Not to skip over her time as a Shan captive.
Correct.
Definitely
This
can't
is the
forget that.
second time that
All I
she's
can
really
think of
been
is-
captured. But it is a very different
All I can-
captured.
Heyo. When they approach her to be Amarillin, the only thing I can think of is, remember that movie Head of State with Chris Rock?
Mhm.
When they're like, we want you to run for president. And he goes, of what? And they go, of America, of the United States. And he goes, of what? Of America. And he goes, huh. And then like it shows him like, standing behind the podium waving, and then someone shoots him and he goes, oh, no, hell no. And then I love, because that scene, like in that movie, like portrays exactly what Egwene does when she's like, she approaches the council, at the little tower in Saladar, and they're like, so I know you don't have the oath rod. However, you're really cool and we want you to be Amarillin. And then she's totally like, you guys want me as a sacrificial lamb so that when you get your asses handed to you, I'm the one that they still. And then she turns out to be a total badass and does a really great job. As much as I have some issues with Egwene, she does a fan-freaking-tastic job as the
Well,
Amarillin.
and of course, one of the things that's nice about that is that she doesn't tell them. She thinks in her
Right.
head, she's like, you want me to be the sacrificial lamb, to be the Amarillin seat. And then she doesn't say that out loud. She's just like, that's what they want me to do, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to actually be an Amarillin, and we're going to do good things. And then she
Funny
like
part is like out loud to them. She's like, "Yeah, I'll do what you want," but she's got that inner voice. It's like,
I will teach you all how to be a real leader.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God.
and you all need to learn how to handle real power.
Fuck! Did somebody say power?
guys, guys.
You want to mess with me? A spit hot burst while I'm dropping this beat. I love that. While I'm balling in Cuba.
I still say the best fucking lyric from
my
that. Did
tracks
someone
to-
say birthmark?
I am the host with the most glass nose. Assholes made the mess of the war, and the war got cold. Shake hands with both Ronalds, Reagan and McDonald's. Yeah, dude, I love epic rap battles of history. Those guys are the
Oh
best.
god.
Dude, they're pretty
Tangent.
great.
So
Hashtag tangent.
the only thing I don't like about what.fandom.com's overview of the Gathering Storm is,
The
though I
only thing.
understand it, is, well, not the only thing, but in terms of this overview, is they refer to Egwene's plot line with the White Tower as the second main plot line, and of the book, it is
Right.
the main plot line. Now,
No,
of the
it
overall
really
series,
is.
of the overall series, what happens with Rand is the main plot line.
So FYI,
But-
I think they actually do that because when you're reading the book, the first one that they go to chronologically is Rand's. Not because they're necessarily suggesting that it is lesser than, but actually because in the book, chronologically, Egwene's is second. They dive into Rand's first, and then they dive into Egwene's second. Now, granted, again, once they do it first and second, then they're intertwined in this back and forth, many different things going on at the same time. But to be fair, and to their credit, I think it's more about which one begins the story rather than which one is more important.
I mean, you're probably right. I wouldn't doubt it. Still don't like it. But I think
Well,
what
and
we
the
should
other
do
thing
here
is-
on the Black Tower is address the main plot line within the Gathering Storm.
Agreed.
and that's kind of the thing is the main plot line within the Gathering Storm. It's kind of hard because at this point in time, you've got a lot of things happening. For instance, this is the book in which Rand and Egwene both meet with Tuon.
Yes.
I mean, that's a pretty big. At least my hiccups are gone, asshole.
Are you Arnold Schwarzenegger? What the hell?
It is when you take it and you literally take all the power into your body. We've got to go send it out in the flows of Earth, and you live on Earth to make your muscles swole.
Quick, get to the portal stones.
This is also where Rand balefires the shit out of Natrin's barrow, right?
Yep, and we'll get to that after we talk about Egwene and her absolute badassness in the White Tower.
Badass.
Because there's
So
another
Egwene
very
is
loved
raised-
character we have to talk about with it as well.
That is right.
Who this? Who
Yes, this is.
Well, there's
This
there's
is,
two,
I
but
think-
No, I
one
know.
isn't a loved, but there's two because at this point, I think through this book, Egwene can definitely be considered a beloved character.
Yes.
Varen is a beloved character. Suwan, of
I
course.
love Varen.
Elida has never been a beloved character and has been a cancer on the Wheel of Time book series from book one.
We love to hate her.
No.
She's the boil that
No,
finally gets Lance.
We just hate to hate her.
No, we love
No.
to hate her. We hate to love her.
No. Just hate. It's all that flows through me.
Sometimes I wish
So are
Rand
you
would just
getting-
balefire all the way back to book one so she would just disappear.
Are you referring to Varen?
No, Elida.
Is that where
As
you're
the second
trying to go?
as the second beloved character, yes. But we also
But is that the plot point that you're wanting to get to right now?
yes. After
Which plot
we
point
get
are
to-
you trying to get to?
He's
Well,
trying
let's
to
get
get
through
to
what's
my
going
neck,
on in the
my
White Tower.
back.
your gag reflex and your crack?
We promised we weren't going to get into my gag reflex.
You promised. I listened.
We don't have an oath rod at the Black Tower, okay?
I mean, we have a bunch of
other
oath rods.
Stupid ass. we got a bunch of rods. I don't know if any of them are oath rods.
I'll love you forever. Let's seal the deal.
Just hold on to this rod and swear.
All I can see in my mind now is somebody grabbing some dude's junk and just like, shit, fuck, ass, tits.
Oh boy.
Why don't
So-
you just make like a tree and
Fuck
get the
off.
fuck out of here?
Get the fuck out of here. We gotta get you a book of Proverbs or something. This mix and matching shit's gotta go. I love that movie.
So,
And that is our movie quote for the
Sure.
evening.
yes, that works for me.
I'm in.
That's Pulp Fiction, right?
I will
Yeah,
kill
totally.
everyone
Bro.
in this building.
The good thing is I
So-
actually do know what it comes from.
Yes.
Yeah, you do,
But-
sure.
Speaking of coming from, let's talk about where Egwene comes from leading into this part of the
Hey.
book. So at this
Hashtag
point,
segue.
Egwene has, as Amerlin of the Rebel Aes Sedai, has been captured and is a novice per Elida's decree in the physical White Tower.
Is that a Nova Scotia?
Yes. And yeah, this is the Rebel Aes Sedai have come to the White Tower
Ages ago.
and they're laying siege
Yep.
essentially
They're
to
like,
the
hey,
White
Elida,
Tower.
fuck you.
Fuck you, you false Amarillan bitch hole of a nasty skank
Oh.
whore.
There's words I want to use that I cannot use in describing Elida.
The word I'm looking for, I can't use. There
Yeah.
are children's toys present.
So
I think you're looking for Space Ranger.
basically,
Anyway, continue.
Egwene has gone about undermining as much of Elida's rule as she can, basically, and doing so in a way that also helps, or at least she believes is trying to help mend the strife and barriers between the different Ajas in the White Tower. Initially, of course, as a novice, she has freedom of the tower. She can move around the tower freely, but she denounces Elida as a coward and a tyrant. Elida finds out, pulls a pure white cloak move, and calls her a dark friend and orders her to be imprisoned.
You're a dear friend.
You don't think I'm the best ruler to ever walk the halls of this tower? Dark
You
friend.
are fake news.
Do you know what I love about Egwene's clapback to
Which
that
one?
specific moment?
Oh, that specific one. What? What do you
Is that
love?
the one
Specifically
where she
to the-
says, like, I'd name you a dark friend as well, but the dark one would be embarrassed to associate himself with you.
Yes, that is one of the greatest clapbacks
Uh,
in the entire book series.
That is like one of the chiefest mic drops in the entire series. Like, you're so bad that
Right?
calling you a dark friend would even be insufficient.
Even the dark friends would reject you. That's how pathetic you are.
Which is hilarious because they can actually have.
Right,
I mean, they're controlling her, but they're like, yeah, you're not going to bring you into the fold. Partially because
We're
she
not bringing you into the
actually-
fold.
She is so full of her self-righteousness that Elida believes that what she is doing is right.
Yep.
But so Elida does fail to prove the accusation that Egwene is a dark friend. And so Egwene is released. So, still pissed, throwing a tantrum. She needs to be taken to the wise ones to learn some humility. But she
For
learns it
sure.
another way. But she scapegoats the current mistress of novices, Sylvana.
Sylvana.
I had it in my head and I just went on like
S words.
Sylvana.
Sylvana Brion is scapegoated for
Mhm.
failing to control Egwene's behavior. Oh, she's a dark friend.
Yep.
I can't prove it. Well, the Mistress of Novus failed because she's not controlling her behavior.
Yeah.
Right.
So
If you could
after
just
this whole
control her
ordeal-
better, she wouldn't be a dark friend.
Well, and the funny thing is that at this point in time, Egwene is already fully trained as an Aiel Wise One.
Yeah.
Like, guys, you're not gonna control her
because I'm pretty
Nobody
sure
is.
Savannah was,
Hell,
Savannah
even
was
she can't
reporting,
control herself
was
sometimes.
reporting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Savannah was reporting to Elida that, like, look, I beat the living daylights out of this girl, and you know what she did?
She laughed.
She looked me in the eyes and laughed.
Yeah.
She's not all there mentally. Leave her the fuck alone. She must
She's
be
scary.
insane.
She scares
Elida?
me.
Elida! I'm afraid.
But after this instance, we get what is initially the most shocking, one of the most shocking, if not the most shocking revelations that turns into one of the most heart-wrenching scenes of the series.
Oh,
Because
it really is.
Egwene goes back to her room, and Varen Mathwin is there, the lovable, older, knowledge-focused Aes
the
Sedai
plump brown
is-
Aja.
that has always been there. She's always seemed to be so helpful, and she reveals to Egwene that Varen herself is actually part of the Black Aja. Talk about a
a
fucking
double
twist.
agent. Hold on though. Specify.
Oh yeah,
though.
no, we're getting into
She's
it,
part of the Black Aja,
but
but she's not. She's a double
Yes.
agent of the Black Aja.
because she does explain
She was.
that she
Yes.
So she explains that she took advantage of the loophole in the unbreakable oath that she swore to the Black Aja that she could not betray them until the hour of her death. And at this point, she has fatally poisoned herself so that she can reveal everything she has learned to Egwene.
Using a poison that will give her approximately 1 hour to live.
Yes.
Like that's how precise. This is how amazing Varen is. She's like, okay, I've learned all I can learn. I've done all I can do. The only thing left for me to do is commit seppuku and pass on all that I know so that I can take these Black Aja bitches down.
And that's what she does. So she explains to Egwene that, look,
Oh.
I did not want to join the Black Aja. I was forced to either swear fealty to them or they were going to kill me. So
Yes.
what I decided to do was swear to them and catalog everything I ever discovered, found, heard, sniffed out, heard rumors of about the Black Aja. And she hands Egwene
Her
a journal
ward
with
or-
all of it.
Yeah. And Varen's warder was a dark friend, and she didn't know.
Yeah.
If I'm
think so.
recalling correctly. And so what happened was they had found themselves in a particular situation in which, just as you said, Varen was faced with a choice of join us or die. And she was like, this actually might be a really good chance to get in and find out what's going on. And she became a double agent for that. And I've long suspected or
Varen
thought
Sedai.
that J.K. Rowling should give credit to Robert Jordan for Professor Snape.
Yeah.
Because it's identical to Snape's story, with the exception of a love interest.
So, in fact, her warder Thomas was a dark friend, and that she was forced into joining the Black Aja after being caught asking too many questions.
Which
She
is
has
hilarious
insight on how the Forsaken and the Dark One
some
operate.
level, because the
She's
idea
brown
of a
Aja.
brown Aja not asking questions is like imagining a fish not breathing underwater, and you're like, are you kidding me?
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So she gives her, it's actually 2 books she gives her. One is the journal with the details, and the other is the cipher to decode it.
Correct.
And Varen also tells Egwene that the Forsaken Masana has infiltrated the White Tower, but she can never determine who she was impersonating.
Right.
Also in the book, she's
Which was a
recorded
terrifying
the prophecies Dark Friends believe and the different factions within the Dark Friends. And
also something that no one ever, even in the Age of Legends, no one had been privy to.
Yeah. And she's, of course, incredibly worried that, because she has done things that she had to do as part of the Black Aja, that there is no reconciliation. And Egwene does such an Amerlin thing and consoles her, and by telling her that her soul is a shining white like the light. And without any more time to grieve, the Battle of Tar Valon begins.
Yeah, no, it was...
I would hate to be Egwene right now. It's so bad because you just got called a dark friend, had to go through that trial. Then you had to watch someone that is innocent be prosecuted for not controlling your behavior. You finally go back to to relax for a moment and get the biggest bombshell of your life and the biggest gift of your life given to you. And you don't even have time to grieve for the woman that literally sacrificed her own life to gain this information and ultimately protect the White Tower before the assholes that collared you before attack again.
And you
understand why
the problem
goes
right there.
Pure boss mode, ultra instinct badass.
Dude, and she does too. She's like, oh hell no. I'm having the worst day of my motherfucking life right now. And y'all Sanchin bitch ass is gonna come up in here in my house? Hell no.
That is it.
She goes,
I have had it with these motherfucking Shanshan in my motherfucking tower.
And she goes full Samuel L. Jackson on day bitch asses.
I mean, well, also, to be honest, if you had the capability to go full Samuel L. Jackson, is there ever a time that
I would do it every time? I would never not go full Samuel L. Jackson.
Not. Never stop, never stopping.
Don't stop Samuel L. Jacksoning. Hold on to that motherfucker.
I actually want this rendition to continue.
People.
The madness. 'Tis the madness. Always the madness. So
we apologize retrospectively for our headphone users.
No, we don't.
Yeah, sorry guys.
I mean
I apologize for nothing.
Volume.
Did you hear the note I just hit?
There are two times when it is appropriate for a man to cry: at a Willie Nelson concert and at a funeral.
The other thing I think that gets Egwene is when the Sanchan attack, they have timed it beautifully. I mean, they really did. The tower is broken. There are two different factions. The tower is weak, and the Shan-Chan come in with their birdie McBirdie pterodactyl things, and
The rocket
they wreak havoc.
The rockin',
They wreak havoc.
rockin'.
the rockin' and toe
Yeah.
rockin' and knee rockin' and elbow rockin'.
The head rocking,
The party
the
rocking.
shoulders rocking.
You got to get the party rockin'
Knees
in the White
rockin'.
Tower tonight.
I'm Shan-Chan and I
It's true.
know it.
Everybody except the Aes Sedai gonna have a real good time.
Oh, shoot.
Uh,
So they're able to the
Shan-Chan
Shan-Chan.
is in
It
the
really,
house
it's not really a
tonight.
battle.
Not yet. It's
It's
not.
not really a battle. It's more like a raid or a skirmish. But the weakened state of the tower allows them to be successful in carrying off a number of Aes Sedai
Oh yeah,
in collars.
because they all just hate each
which-
other so much that they can't work together
Yeah.
to mount any defense.
It's
Are they the baddies?
and this is
because it's a stereotypical villain thing to not be able to work together.
yes, it really is. Well, and you see the whole series. Robert Jordan does the most amazing thing when he writes these factions, these different factions, because not only are they trying to prepare for Tarman Gaidon, they're also warring with each other. He does the most amazing job of showing even the Forsaken, from the very first instances that we meet the Forsaken, they're like calling each other fools and talking about how the first chance I get, I'm going to make sure that asshole dies.
To be fair, they
it's just
are
like-
the baddies, so like that's
Well, they are indeed the baddies, but I think Robert Jordan does a really great job in creating a narrative in which you don't have to be a dark friend in order to be a baddie.
yeah.
Elida
White
was not a
cloaks.
dark friend. Was she an antagonist? Hell to the yes, she was.
So we want to talk
Were
about
the White Close?
the effort that the Shan-Chan put into the plans to lead this raid.
Dude.
Bruh.
So they first got alerted to the White Tower during the conquest of Abu Dar, when a number of the Shan-Chan Damane detected vast amounts of the One Power being channeled from a hilltop north of the city. This was the Kin and the Sea Folk Windfinders, as well as Nynaeve, Elaine, and
that's it.
Avienda. Or was Avienda not
Avienda's
there?
there, yeah.
Yeah, so them
She is.
using the Ball of the Wind.
The
the
balls of the
Chandlers-
wind.
Yep. So the Chandlers fled from that using gateways, and they feared the Shan-Chan would be able to work out how to create their own, so Elaine tried to unravel the gateway and instead caused it to explode and vaporized all the Shan-Chan on the other side.
Mm,
So
exactly.
the Shan-Chan concluded the Aes Sedai had developed and deployed an incredibly powerful weapon capable of destroying vast numbers of their forces.
Which is funny because
yeah,
it was
so-
an accident.
So because of this, Surath made contingency plans for a surprise assault on Tar Valon to capture or destroy this weapon and simultaneously
Yes.
leash or kill as many Aes Sedai as possible. And after Surath
Exactly.
fell from grace, Tuon was made aware of the plan and approved it. So the decision to implement the operation was taken after the failure of negotiations between Tuon and Randall Thor. And Tuon hoped that depriving his forces of this imaginary weapon would hopefully hundreds of potential Aes Sedai followers or allies would convince him to bow to the Crystal Throne. So what they did is approximately 100 tow rockin' and an unknown number of escort rockin' flew in stages from Abu Dar to Tar Valon across Altara, Murundi, Andor, and the Caroline Grass. They carried approximately 300 troops with them, comprising 200 Fist of Heaven, 50 Soldam and Damane pairings, and 5 Blood Knives, the elite kamikaze-like assassins. It took them several days, and they rested in the grasslands far from habitation to avoid being seen along the way. At the time of the battle, there were only 300 Aes Sedai, several dozen accepted, and over 100 novices in the White Tower. The city had 30,000 armed men, but guess what they were busy doing? Guarding the
Fighting
bridges.
off Egwene.
Well, they were busy guarding the bridges, because they didn't want a sortie from the rebel army to attack. So essentially, the tower itself wasn't really that well defended. And they attacked at night, with the Mane operating from the back of the toe racking, blasting holes in every side of the White Tower they could, which allowed the Fist of Heaven and more Damane to enter the tower above ground level, right into your sleeping quarters.
Yeah. Get those Shan-Chan in my sleeping quarters.
They also had several of the toe rocking that landed on the tower roof and in the square in front of the main entrance, thus sealing the tower off from outside help. It didn't help that people kept reporting that the toe racking that landed were actually shadow spawn. They thought they were Drakkar. It was they could not have timed their attack at a better time, and the main advantages they had, they didn't even know they were going to have.
And that's one of that they even mentioned that earlier in the series too, when Rand talks about the Shan-Chan and how after every single battle they analyze what they did. They analyze what they did right and they analyze what they did wrong. And they learn from every single battle. And he said, if we're going to win the last battle, we have to do the same thing. And, of course, the White Tower is not on board with Rand at this point in time. But they are able to, the Shan-Chan are able to formulate this attack based on previous interactions with Aes Sedai and the White Tower. And they know, where they can strike and how they can strike in order to make a most effective raid. And they really do a great job here.
Good job, Shan-Chan.
That's one of the things I love so much about the Shan-Chan.
You might be scummy and shitty, but good
what
job.
else could you expect from
you got
an
me
entire
there.
people whose ancestry is from Otter Hawkwing's armies? Like,
right, though.
They have kept his battle prowess and tactics and emphasis on being able to analyze what you did wrong, analyze your enemy, take calculated tactical action, and they fucking mastered it.
Do you know your enemy? Do you know your enemy? You gotta know your enemy.
I mean, think about it. They take over and get pushed back one time, I think, in the series that we read. After that, whatever footholds they gain, they don't lose again.
Exactly.
And what did it take to push them back?
They move pretty.
What did it take to push them back?
Heroes of legend.
Yes, the Horn of Valir had to be sounded. That is a Tarmogoyden level tool.
Literally, Arthur Hawkwing, Brigitte Silverbow, Rogosh Eagle-Eye, and all the heroes of the Horn were needed to.
And how many of them left because they saw Arthur Hawkwing there? How they had pictures.
Absolutely wonderful it is that Arthur Hawkwing came back and was like, oh, children and grandchildren and many generations of children later. Time to get fucked.
Listen here, you little shit. You may be my great grandchildren.
But if you don't listen to me and go home now, I will be forced to beat you with a belt.
I love you. Have some hard candy. Oh, and leave or I'm going to fuck you up. And they're like, yep.
Where are my great-great-grandchildren so I can fuck them up?
Basically.
So,
it's, I mean.
One of you want to talk us through what Egwene does in this utterly badass triumphant moment in the book.
Go for it, Jersh.
So Egwene she's white hot with rage at this point in time. And, there's also probably a good amount of like PTSD triggering and whatnot. I say that term lightly, but this is just how she is. She leads a group of novices, because those are the only ones that'll listen to her. All the other Aes Sedai, squawking and running around like a goose with its head cut off. She rounds up a group of novices, basically just anybody she sees, and she's like, we're going to do this shit. And she does. She ends up driving the Shanshin back, taking the wind out of their sails, so to speak, removing their element of surprise, removing their upper hand. And they go, okay, this was a raid. This was an attack. We're going to get out of here before we lose all of the footing that we gained. And the rebel Aes Sedai take this as an opportunity to re-enter the tower, and they're like, okay, we're going in. We're going in. We've got to rescue Egwene. She's our Almarillan, and we're going to go in. So they go in. They end up, and then of course they find her, leading this little group. They find her though, she's exhausted from all the fighting. And they take her back to the camp. They're like, okay, we're gonna
fuck her back to Elf. I mean, sorry, that's a Warder thing. Crap,
that's a Warder thing. Gowan is gonna take care of that for her.
Do the one and only good thing you do in all of these.
Now, Elida was actually captured by the Sanchin.
Serves her right.
And so serves her right. Which was a particularly terrifying moment for her, and again, good, because she was so nasty and deserves every bit of it.
What a bleepity bleep bleep bleep.
She reunites the tower, right? She comes back, she reunites the tower, and she says, we've got Varen's. They actually make it official too. They raise her to Aes Sedai. They give her the Oath Rod. They raise her to Aes Sedai. They raise her to Almarillan. They make it official with
with all of the tower,
the official pomp and stance. Yeah, they give her all the bells and whistles, and there's actually a really fun story, which I thought was a little snooty, but I actually kind of liked it. Siuan at this point in time was her advisor, teaching her how to be Almarillan. And at one point in time, Egwene is just like, okay, yep, now I'm Almarillan. We can get the rebel Aes Sedai in there, and I can accept their apology. And Siuan's like, their apology for what? These are the people that raised you to Almarillan. Like, what the hell? And Egwene's like, they rebelled.
Doesn't
against
matter. Still rebelled.
Exactly. And then Siuan's like, oh, damn, girl, you good.
Like, the sheer awe in that moment, that her political maneuvering and thought process behind it,
right?
Confused Siuan.
Right. And then Siuan's like, oh my God, damn, girl, you got skills, you good. And then that's when they were like,
the master.
We are not going to. And she even does something really, really amazing by choosing Sylviana as her keeper. And Sylviana was of the Red Aja.
Of course, that was the previously mentioned Mistress of Novices that got punished for failing to control Egwene.
Correct.
Exactly. And Egwene recognized in her someone who is honest, someone who has integrity, and someone who is not a complete,
and someone that will say
someone who is not
wrong.
Black. Of
exactly.
The Black Aja.
Also,
I'm really glad you clarified that,
also not
Daniel. I got
Black
concerned
Aja.
for a second. Like, that is the worst possible time for your mic to cut out.
Yeah, that's right.
Of the Black Aja.
She also states that, look, as Almarillan, I am of all Ajas and none, which means part of my purview, part of my charter is the Red Aja. I love it because it's such a brilliant political move, but I hate it because at the same time I'm like, oh my God, just get rid of the Red Aja. Can we please get rid of the Red Aja?
Look at the number of successes that Egwene has coming into being the full-fledged worldwide Amyrlin. She has rooted out and
Mrs. Worldwide.
either executed or scared off every member of the Black Aja that was, or probably every member, at least that she had records on, in the rebel camp. Comes back to the tower,
Yeah.
becomes
Well,
Amberlin,
and that was the
like in an almost instant repairs at least a fair portion of the hard feelings between Ajas,
right.
and then scares away and executes all of the Black Aja that she can find there. Like it's the same way
Exactly.
that, and
She-
this might be we already talked about what happens with Iman Valda? Has that already been covered? Has that already happened?
We have not.
Oh,
we have
we
not
haven't touched
discussed that
that.
yet.
At
well,
all.
much in the same way that a certain other group of people get a very nice redemption arc to be what they always should have been. This is the White Tower's redemption arc to finally become what they
Yes.
should have been from book 1, but we're too busy being
whole
scheming
time.
assholes to actually be of pure and
Yes.
utter good use to the world. And that seems to be the common theme here. Every group, every organization we find that is corrupt,
Right.
that is allowed Forsaken inside of their organization, it's not because the Forsaken are super wily and can finagle their way in. It's because they're already
also
so
that.
corrupt. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. But it's mainly because they're already so corrupt
Yeah.
and so self-righteous.
Yep.
Well, and remember too, like I'm watching again, I'm in my reread. I'm going through my reread, and Lanfear is openly walking the halls of the White Tower. Like she
Sorta.
just walking around. She was seen by numerous people.
Yes.
But the thing is she had the compelling, and she had, different things going
And
on.
she was
and I'm like, okay,
disguised
that's
as Elsa
great.
Grinwell.
At one point
More
in
than
time,
one.
but
She's Elsa Grinwell is like a lot of people.
Matt.
Or
I understand, but she spoke with Matt as
Correct.
herself, promised him glory. She spoke with Egwene.
correct.
Of course, it was because Egwene was trying to chase Elsie Greenwell, or Grunwell, whatever. But, the fact that Lanfear could walk around as herself in the tower for any given amount of time is a testament to show how blinded the Aes Sedai were, because like you said, they couldn't figure out how to defend against the Forsaken because there was too much infighting. There was too much dissension
They were
within
so
the
convinced
ranks.
their
Sorry,
onboarding
I do
process
wanna
was
go
ahead and
so
bring up
airtight
one
that
thing.
nobody could get in that was evil.
No,
Yeah.
I totally agree. And honestly, again, this is one of the things that I've brought up about the White Cloaks and their organization, multiple times during multiple episodes and whatnot, which is that if you assume that you don't have any dark friends are going to pop up because they'll be like, this is the perfect place to hide. No one thinks I'm here. But I will also throw
Right.
out there that the Forsaken do have one. And again, this is off on a tangent, and I get that it's not actually like the meat and potatoes of what you were saying, and I get that. But also, the Forsaken do have this like sort of in some ways super armor, not just because they're really dope ass magic users, but also because nobody fucking remembers what they look like. Because they haven't been around for so long that Lanfear walking around the tower as herself is actually not surprising at all that no one recognized her. Because who the fuck would? Like, Lanfear hasn't been around so long.
Well, basically, what you're
No,
saying
you're
that
is
she
right.
can just walk
You're
around
absolutely
as her
right.
normal self, and people will be like, "Who this
so
bitch?"
basically what
and
you're
she's
saying
like,
is we're going to blame the Brown Aja for not doing their job and creating good fucking records.
Actually, they tried, but Varen would kill them when they.
I meant
That's
before all
true.
this, back in the times
So-
whenever they knew the identity of Lanfear, before she became Lanfear.
Yeah, no, I actually kind of agree. Not actually, I take that back. I think that the Brown Aja probably actually have a set of drawings, a set of portraits, a description of the Forsaken, blah blah blah, all of the ways that they looked back in the Age of Legends. I actually would not be surprised that if that existed, totally, without a doubt. But the failure was in making sure that everyone throughout the ages knew those descriptions by heart. Because, of course, they just assumed that the Forsaken were shut up in Shale Ghul. And so it didn't matter what they looked like because they were never getting out. That was the failing, not necessarily the record keeping.
Overconfidence in their own ability.
Exactly. The lack of vigilance.
Right. So the big thing that Egwene does that is absolutely brilliant is, I mean, first order of business as Amarillan, she says, okay, I'm going to require every sister to retake their oaths under the oath rod and swear to me after retaking their oaths under the oath rod that they are not black, that they are not Black Aja, that they are not dark friends. And it is so that's such a fun scene, just seeing all the sisters, you know, filing in and under the light, I am not a dark friend, you know. And some of them are like, oh shit. Yeah.
Well, and I love that it actually somewhat comes from, and I love this tie-in because it's not expressly said. I don't think there's actually any scene that happens in the book where they talk about this, but I honestly and truly feel very strongly that all of the sisters that were the sitters of the Ajas, that actually were wheedling out the Black Aja in the tower before Egwene showed up, actually are the catalyst for that. And I really appreciate that Egwene is smart enough to implement it, and that it really, without a doubt, again, to me, seems like she just listened. And it wasn't necessarily even just her brilliance. I mean, it was definitely smart to implement that, but that she actually just listened to what had been going on in the tower. That she actually was just aware of what was up. And that when people came to her and told her what had happened while all of the rebel Aes Sedai were off in Saladar and on their way to go, you know, do the siege and whatnot, that she actually just sat and listened. And that's what brought about that fourth oath. Because they had already discovered that the oath rod worked again, as long as you re-swore your oaths on the Black Aja and whatnot. And it's a wonderful tie-in that, as I said, I don't think that it's a specific tie-in. Like, I don't think there's a scene where one of the sitters is like, hey, Egwene, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it's not a far stretch.
Agreed.
Either.
Right. So, and that's kind of like the end of Egwene's story in this book. You know, that's kind of what she does. She gets in, she fucks some shit up. She is officially recognized as the Amarillan seat, makes some brilliant political maneuvers. And then, you know, and that's what she does. That's Amarillan's. And they say this is the second story. This is the second main plot line. Even though, and I have to say, even though I see where you're coming from, Andrew, I kind of disagree with you. I do think this is the second main plot line. Even though this takes up the bulk of the book, I think one of the most significant scenes in the series happens at the end of this book.
So what I was getting at when I said that is that this plot line is essentially concluded in this book with the White Tower.
That's true.
But the plot line that revolves around Rand as the Dragon Reborn and ultimately into Tarmogoyf and beyond is not. So I'm not saying it's any less important, but it's like a subplot line to the overarching plot
line. And I see where you're saying there, and you've got the White Tower, you've got all these loose ends in the White Tower that are tied off. And now the White Tower, after Egwene, whips them into shape, the White Tower is ready to face Tarmogoyf. at the end during this book. I feel like, they've rooted out all the dark friends. They've they've presented for the first time in the series, for the first time in 3,000 years probably, a unified front.
They've
ready
become
to
the
face
White Tower that
the
is
last
necessary for the light to win Tarmagon. Yeah, and the one that always
should have been. Shout out to our ladies at the White Tower. Thank you for your contributions at Tarmagon. You guys rock.
So, but that essentially covers the Egwene/White Tower plotline, which still leaves our old boy, Mr. Unleash the Dragon Reborn, Rand. So,
yes.
Excuse me. I had to burp it. In this book. Oh, thank you.
You did it well, sir.
At least it's not the, Rand the Dragon Reborn.
Shut your filthy whore mouth, sir.
I could not resist.
You could not. It is okay. I would have done the same thing.
In the Gathering Storm.
Why are you wearing Andrew's
We have the same size feet. We are trying to save the money. And I prefer to wear his shoes since he has nice shoes, Mr. I work for Boeing.
Lockheed.
Fucking airplane company.
Lockheed, not Boeing.
My bad.
That's cool.
Honestly, my bad though. I have a lot of. I
was gonna say that was actually pretty.
I have a lot of respect for fucking Lockheed, but yeah,
they're pretty awesome.
Which, since we're talking about jobs, have I told y'all the job I'm interviewing?
Okay.
So
you did not.
They're reviewing my application now. But if accepted, I will be working as the /a system administrator for a Department of Justice data center that was just stood up in South Carolina.
Oh snap!
Oh yeah,
nice, dude. Andrew, and we can cut this part out, but real quick, side note. If you're looking for a system administrator job and you don't mind living in Utah,
you're already done.
Lockheed has numerous sysadmin positions.
You had me until you said F-35.
Just throwing that out there.
Which, to be fair, dude, I love the technology in the F-35. I just hate the airframe.
No, it's not the airframe though. You wouldn't be supporting the airframe. You'd be supporting the software,
which ultimately allows the airframe to still be.
To be fair, that's still the airframe. Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it's not. You're not an engineer. You're not a software engineer.
Andrew, that means that if
no,
and make it look like it was the airframe, then they'll redesign it.
Oh God!
Andrew will never be sabotaging
the idea of
anything.
Sabotaging. The idea is it's yes, it is a sysadmin job, but it's the server side. It's not the aircraft side.
So you are actually even
how
additionally removed from the frame.
Send me your email address. I'll send you a job description. And you can.
The only downside
to
moving is leaving my
motorcycle club. Well, there's that, and that's why that's why I prefaced that with if
ultimately a man's got to work, so
something like that.
Damn it! That would mean that I would just always have to come out to Utah because both of you would be there.
Basically, yeah.
We'll always be co-recording in the same room.
Damn it!
That would be hilarious.
So speaking of a man that has to do some work,
and back into the episode. Where were we?
Once a week, Daniel just buses to Utah to go ahead and record with everybody.
Let me be fair, that probably wouldn't be incredibly expensive, though over time it would be.
So,
it wouldn't.
So we got Rand.
Yeah.
So we've got So we've got the next big plot point in this book. There's a number of different things. Like we were saying earlier in the episode, Rand and Egwene actually meet with Tuon. They discuss a truce. They're like, "Hey, the last battle's coming. We really can't do this. So Tuon, you've got to stop collaring women who can channel." Blah blah blah. They have a big.
We still have things to talk about before that meeting, sir.
For all you people out there who
you're talking about the actual meeting with the actual Tuon, not the Tuon that turned out to be Cimarog that took his hand last book.
Yeah. Well, that was
Semerhaig.
I don't want to say Hague because that implies that there's some kind of civil war rights going on here. And there's not. There's just pure, utterly blinding, time-based balefire justice.
You do know that
does try
the Hague does so much more than that, right?
Actually, I haven't looked at the Hague in a long time.
Okay.
My apologies to the Hague.
Plus, this is only the Hague.
Yeah, there was a meeting with the Sanchan, which turned out to be
bad news bears
Semiraj.
For Rand's left hand.
And she takes it's Semiraj and Grendel working together
to make what happens that we're about to get into even more impactful. Why is it
kind of working
that Rand loses hand? Who is he defending when he loses his hand? Exactly.
Man.
So they want to boom.
Okay.
Way to go,
boom.
Okay.
No!
You're grounded. You are grounded.
No. So
I do what I want.
The Aes Sedai work with Rand.
You can't.
I'm a brave boy.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
You're a boomer. You say don't push me because I'm close to cardiac arrest.
Good,
Andrew. No offense to any of our older audiences. We still love you.
Right?
Okay, boomer.
All the boomers are going to be like, well, fuck you guys.
Smell burnt toast.
Poor day.
I smell burned hand.
I smell burned Rand hand.
Oh,
who's burning the dragon?
Oh, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Oh, God.
Look like dragons back on the menu, boys.
That's right. It is now December, so congratulations to any of our Ashaman brethren that were able to successfully complete No Nut November. Though at this point, I imagine you're extremely exhausted.
Yeah, because it's day 4 of Dick Destruction December.
It's been a...
I have a feeling
I don't
if
think
I
that's something you want to Google
it
with
would
adult.
not be
You need to have parental controls.
what you just implied.
Actually, it's very simple.
No, I don't.
It's very simple, and it's actually not that bad. It's just that for every day in December, you're supposed to masturbate the number of times that the day is. So on day 1, you masturbate once.
Oh my
on day
God.
2, you masturbate
look
twice.
on the upside. It's going to be 56 times before you have a heart attack.
It's ridiculous, and it's so dumb, but it's also hilarious. Like in the suggestion that that's even a thing that someone would have thought of.
Well, there was the Forsaken that had, I think it was Semiraj who did this, but she had the Aes Sedai.
She also masturbated
and
like
the warder
30 times on December 30th.
She had the Aes Sedai and the warder bound. And
she
was
just
like
pleasured him to death.
Basically probing the warder, just like
she
pleasing him with the power.
I'm pretty sure he
pleased him so hard he died.
No.
I don't know what it was, but bro,
he busted a nut so fat he literally
can't even
honestly,
imagine.
if they do that scene,
he literally
do that scene and he does not look like either like Jack Nicholson like Joker by the end of the scene, just like dead and with the biggest, weirdest fucking smile on his face, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the If they don't get Ron Jeremy to play that warder,
Yes.
Guys, I have the weirdest boner right now.
Oh, dude.
Guys, I have the weirdest boner right now.
so the Aes Sedai are working with Rand,
So-
and they are interrogating Simmerog, Simmerhague, Simmerdown, whatever. But she is freed by old boy
Simmerdown.
Dark One, for whatever reason, decided to inhabit a Murdrall's body, Shadar Haran. And in her prison break, she takes a Dominion ban, or Domination ban, sorry. Which of course is that item that is used to control male channelers, and locks it around Rand's neck. And then herself,
Right.
combined with the Black Aja sister,
Shit.
Elza Pinfell, use it to not only control him, but make him torture and attempt to kill Min Farshaw. Can you understand the significance? The man just lost a hand and is now being forced to torture one of the people that he loves more than
Yes.
anything. So in this moment of desperation, unable to touch Sidene, he's reaching out for anything he can, and what does he find? A link to the true power.
The true.
And he uses that to not only free himself, but in the process, instantaneously kill Simmerog and Elza. And we don't mean from Frozen.
And I can
Mhm.
just imagine one fucking black speck just circling his eye now.
one
Saw.
So after this,
saw.
he, like he does after every traumatic event,
Saw,
resolves to
dude.
make himself harder and emotionless. He's going to drink more bone apple tea. He then
Yes.
He's
So
at a
much
literal
pineapple
gallon now.
tea!
He's really like to get a little bit more like philosophical, it's that whole like Bane speech, oh, you think darkness is your ally. Like he never came out
No,
of the
he
box.
never did.
From
Oh,
all
no.
the way back in book 6 at Demise Wells, he never came out of the box. There's a part of him that always kept that mentality kind of with him. And it's actually, we've talked on the show before about how progressive Robert Jordan is with, socially, but he's also pretty emotionally progressive as well. These are clear-cut signs
oh yes,
of PTSD and
PTSD,
the
severe
emotional distress
depression
that comes
disorder,
with that.
It's
And he's doing all of the exact
dissociative
right things to
identity
make
disorder.
it worse.
He's got a voice in his
And
head.
Exactly. And he starts to isolate himself from others. He thinks he's doing the right thing because he feels like his emotional connections to others
on
is
top of
what's
that,
making him weak. And this, of course, just plays right into that because it was his emotional connection
top
to
of that,
men that
he's
they
also
tried to
gonna
use
feel like,
against
look,
him.
there's
to
something wrong
torture
with me.
him
I'm
with.
broken. I'm going to die. I am a cancer to everybody. So the best thing I can do is keep everyone away from me. That is a literal, because I've talked to you guys about it and I've put it out to everybody.
Exactly.
I have major depression disorder. That is textbook depression thought. I am bad for everybody
Mhm.
around me, so I'm going to keep
Yeah.
everybody away from me.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm doing them a favor. I'm doing them a favor. I'm protecting them by not exposing myself to them. And it's of course. So serious moment here on the Black Tower podcast. If you guys suffer from depression or PTSD or anything like that, you're not alone. First off. And second off, you are not doing yourself any favors by isolating yourself. Reach out. There are always people there who are willing to talk with you, are willing to just listen to you, willing to be there with you, have a drink with you, whatever the case may be.
Dude, seriously.
There's
Watch
always
all the bros.
someone who's there.
Go
And
ahead.
I know for myself I'm just going to say, I know for myself, if any one of you listening have that, or if you feel that, you can always reach out to myself, or I know I'm pretty sure that, Daniel and Andrew would echo my sentiments as well. Do not.
So to OU
keep to
bros,
yourself.
bras,
it's not
and
a good idea.
I can't think of other names. reach out to the Twitter of Time community, the Wheel of Time community. It's a fantastic, loving community that I would be astonished if somebody didn't say, you know what, yeah, let's talk. You need 3 hours to talk, let's chat.
Exactly. I've yet to meet someone on there who wouldn't be there and be willing.
You
to put
are
themselves
taken
out
by
there.
the taint. Seek help. There are methods of healing the taint.
And this.
Oh shit! Spoiler.
It's true, and seriously though, and the thing was is that in this situation we see Rand, following these behaviors, these behavioral patterns that, of course, us reading the books, we can look at that and go, dang, this is getting scary because the world is depending on him and he's not doing what he needs to be doing. He's not making the right choices to heal and be able to face this in a healthy fashion.
On a separate note,
creators.
Whoever's in the background for
We
one of y'all
cannot
making stuff in the
create.
microwave,
We
where's
can
mine?
Only destroy.
Right? Where that popcorn
I mean,
is, yo.
I could send it to you, but it'll take days. It's a chicken cordon bleu from Costco. So
nice. I'll take
they come in packages of 6.
I didn't hear that right. I thought you said it'd come at the ages of 6, and I was like, what?
Yes, you can now go to
Subject
Costco
change.
and buy them, but only if you are 6 years old or older. We will be checking IDs.
So Rand has this big, huge thing that spurs him into a deeper emotional isolation,
and he
a
lashes
deeper
out,
detachment, and he's losing it. He really is. He thinks he's. Oh yeah. Big time.
Which, I mean, like, if we're being completely honest,
she did fuck up.
Catswain totally deserved
She
it.
kind of deserved it.
Not only did she fuck up, but, like, also, okay. I actually
in true
really
Aes Sedai
like
fashion,
Cadswain
she wouldn't
as
own it.
a character. I think that A, she is very believable.
Right.
B, she has her own flaws, which makes her a better character overall, and again, plays into her believability and whatnot. That being said, Cadswain is such a garbage person, and she shows that so often through her interactions and whatnot with everyone, because she really has been told her entire life. Well, not her entire life. Sorry, that's not true. I'm being
very
hyperbolic. She has been told for years that she is a legend and that in a lot of ways she can do no wrong. And so she just absolutely, without a doubt, basks in that in some ways. And she just assumes that what she has in mind is the right answer, regardless of whether it is or not. And so she does things like fucking slap Rand in the face for no good reason.
Well, to assert her dominance. To let him know that she's awesome.
Exactly.
Listen here. I don't care if you're the Dragon Reborn. I'm a fucking legend, okay?
But she does get this nice humbling moment from this because she knows she fucked up. And she didn't just kind of fucked up. She fucked up badly. To the point where Rand looks at her.
She did. And she almost got
and we all know how
killed.
Rand feels about the death of any females that are under his charge around him. And he looks at her and says, not only are you banished, but if I even see your face again, I am going to kill you. That is a promise.
Which, of course, is kind of humorous because if he was anybody else, she would already be dead. But because Rand has such a thing about killing women, it affects him so much that Min was almost killed by him, and makes it so that he doesn't just kill Cadswain on the spot, and he's like, go, leave my sight. Leave my sight forever.
That instance is so much like the box for him.
Yeah.
Because he has no control.
For the rest of the story.
It is.
And it's just like the scene. Like Nynaeve
it
breaks
is.
her block by being so desperate that she reaches out to anything she can possibly grasp or surrender to. And that's what fixes her block. That's what removes her block. And Rand finds himself once again stuck not only in a situation that's like the box, but for him emotionally is worse than the box. Because here is this person that has always been by his side, that has always helped him feel grounded, that has always allowed him to be himself around. And he just, and because he couldn't do anything, she almost died.
Well, and of course, again, remember when he was actually in the box, quote unquote, or in that situation, I should say, they would take him out of the box and then they would beat him in front of him.
Yeah.
And he just like fucking bare hands murdered 4 warders because he was like, touch Min, I kill you.
Yeah. So, you know, he goes back to Codswain. Does he overreact?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Does he have good reason to be pissed, though? Yes. And add in the fact that he's going through he has some very, you know,
this is a
powerful
PTSD
emotional
reaction.
issues at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It absolutely is. So he banishes Codswain, and she's like, okay, whatever. She leaves. And as a matter of fact, there's one point in time where she's like, well, I don't care if he banished me. I'm still going to help him get to Tarmin.
Where was that attitude when you were supposed to secure
and you're just
the
like,
domination
oh my
band?
God, bitch. Like, can you not just... Right? Can you not for 1 second go, damn, I really messed that one up, and I need to make this up to him? No. You have to just be like, well, I'm Codswain. I'm a legend. She can't like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I really feel about it. But then what happens? Which one's next?
Well, then he goes to
because I haven't.
Shan-Chen.
This is
or not to Shan-Chen. He goes to meet with Tuon. And he's actually coming off of... It's an interesting meeting because there are moments where you can absolutely feel sort of Elaine's teachings and Moraine's teachings and whatnot as far as how a ruler should rule and how he should be diplomatic with other leaders and whatnot. But there's also feelings and like moments in this meeting where you feel everything swirling together in this perfect storm of Rand just came out of this domination band fiasco. And just after losing his hand to Semirog. And he is not having any of it.
Mm-mm. No, and that again, this is where he's losing his... So we just talked about how Elaine, Avienda, and Min were teaching him how to be this amazing leader. I don't think they were consciously doing that, but that's just their role in his life. But you can see him stepping further away from that as he spins deeper and deeper out of control.
Yes. And in fact, it's one of those interesting things where you feel on some level that had the previous meeting with the Shan-Chen Empress not gone so badly, because of course, again, it wasn't the Shan-Chen Empress. Let me be clear about that. And then, of course, it had not gone so badly with Shaidar Haran and Semirog and Elza and all of these horrible entities sort of swirling in this one event. You can honestly feel like Tuon would have been far more open to his negotiations than she is, because he is not in a good place to do this.
No, he's not, and that's the thing is he's spiraling so much, and he gets in there, and there's these social currents in the series at this point in time when dealing with other people, and they say you've got to be gentle with them. You know, you can't force someone to do something. If you try and force someone, they're going to kick back, and it's just not going to work.
Because Rand is the prime example of guide you to do something. Yeah, we're totally fine. Tell you to do something, you're going to be like, fuck no.
And that's what he does. He
Can you please
walks
help
into
me? Oh, I'd be
this
happy
meeting with
to,
Tuon
Deary. I need you to
on
do this.
edge in the depth of a PTSD outbreak. And he goes into Tuon and he's like, listen here, bitch. This is what you're going to do.
And she goes, you're adorable. No.
She's like, how about I'm the empress of the ever victorious army and you can eat my ass with a spoon. Did not go well.
And then, of course, again, one of the funny things is that on one hand, the Saladar Aes Sedai, the rebel Aes Sedai, were totally paralyzed with inability to act to go and save Egwene. And the only thing that really causes them to act and Egwene to take charge and her to fulfill her role is the attack on the White Tower by the Seanchan, which is caused in not some small way by Rand and going into this meeting being a complete and total
the
ass
difference
butt.
in being taught to be a ruler and the experience and growing up being groomed to be a ruler. Because Tuon essentially looks at Rand and says, I know you're here,
right?
Not because you think peace is the best thing for both of us, but because you are worried about your ability to stop us. Which tells me you're not ready to fight us. Oh, yeah, Tarmogoyden might be upon us. Yeah, fine, whatever. But while you're fighting Tarmogoyden, we can reclaim the motherland that should have been ours anyway.
And which on some level is actually really funny because, of course, she's standing there talking to the Dragon Reborn, who, not to, get into other things too quickly because the last scene is incredible, but who is capable, clearly, or at least makes it clear in this same book, that he is capable of pulling so much of the One Power that he could scour all of the Seanchan from the earth. So, her going ahead and saying that is kind of humorous. That it's like, yeah, I mean, you can't beat us. So, you only want peace because you can't beat us. And it's like, sort of.
Well, and look at it. And I look at this too from, because one of the things that's big in my life right now is a perspective, a difference of opinion, a difference of point of view. From Tuon's, I've made no qualms about the fact that I think Tuon and the Seanchan Empire is a garbage person and a garbage empire.
Wait, did we do a whole episode on that?
I think they're fantastic characters. Yes, we did. But the thing is, she's very true to her character. Yes. And when she looks at the negotiations and they're saying, we need you to stop collaring women, she's going, why in the light would I do that? Your only chance is me controlling these so-called Aes Sedai to have them ready as weapons at the last battle. And she thinks that's just the most natural thing in the world. No, for real. Why are you telling me to stop doing this? This is what I'm doing to prepare for the last battle. And this is how we're going to win.
And even though all of us know that that's not the way to do it, she really does believe it.
Yeah. And so it's just, it's a very frustrating situation for people to deal with, of course, because you can't see something from somebody else's point of view perfectly. You can't. So, you have a perfect example of Rand coming in, not in a good state of mind to make these negotiations. And you have Tuon over here going, this is what I need to do to save the world.
Yep.
Whether right or wrong, that's what she believes she has to do. She has to do. The world is depending on her to do this in order to save the world.
Which is actually one of the...
And it's a total clash.
Yes. Well, and this is actually one of the things that I appreciate so much, again, about this book series and any other book series that really the author understands their characters so well, is the fact that, again, I think Cersei Lannister is the most garbage character to ever be.
I want to protect my son. Let me kill his wife so he kills himself.
Not because...
Yeah.
Right? She always does something that is actually along the lines of exactly
so
what
dumb.
she would do. And that is the one piece of credit that I will actually just give George R.R. Martin unequivocally without any strings attached. That most of the characters in A Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire, I should say, and in Wheel of Time, and one of the reasons that these are two of like the most well-known and the most sort of like held up series and whatnot are the fact that the author is able to separate their ideas of what's right and wrong and what the world sort of that they've created would think is right and wrong and whatnot from what the actual character themselves believes. Because I can tell you unequivocally that that Oliver Rigney, Robert Jordan, however you want to call him, would be absolutely against in every way most of the things that the Shan-Chan do. But he is smart enough and well-versed enough and such a good storyteller that he can write characters who believe that to their core.
I mean, yes, and the
that
background of the South shows that. Shows through that. The background of the South in regards to the obvious parallel of slavery shows through that. It's nothing that anybody in their right mind would ever support, especially nowadays. But given at the time, the people that supported it legitimately believed that it was just the right thing to do.
Most of them, yeah.
And that's what the Shan-Chan are doing. They think, what do you mean don't do this? That doesn't make any sense. What other option is there? This is the only way to ensure stability in the future.
Exactly.
Well, and again, one of the crazy things is again, in that parallel, it took so many years and so many people to see a lifestyle that didn't involve that to actually make sort of the country as a whole rethink that. But of course, in Shan-Chan, that doesn't happen. There isn't a North and a South. There isn't a set of people who isn't collaring channelers. Now, granted, when they come to Randland, they do start to see that. Some of them start to question, blah, blah, blah. All of that is absolutely true. But again, if you talk about just the deep-held generational beliefs, the Shan-Chan haven't even seen it not work that way.
Yeah. It's a great parallel. And it goes perfectly, with, like I said, how we've got things that are just going absolutely sideways. They're just going absolutely pear-shaped. And it only spurs Rand on to his next two tantrums.
I mean, the unfortunate reality
is they say,
this is still on the bit of the tangent about the Shan-Chan and their collaring, is in 2.5 out of 3 established continents, the seclusion and systematic either jailing, murder, or gentling / stilling of channelers works for what the people can see at the time. Because you have the Shan-Chan collaring everybody, you have all the channelers in Sara being secluded to 1 or 2 areas, and then you have all the male channelers in the mainland Westlands that are gentled. Yeah, they're either executed or gentled, or they kill themselves, or all of the above. Well, not all of the above. You can't really be executed and kill yourself unless you're really talented, I guess. But yeah,
you can be gentled and executed.
Like from their experience, and this isn't just like a couple years of experience. This is like decades, if not centuries of experience. This is what is done. This is what works. This is what has kept us safe. So as horrible as it is, you can understand at least the thought process behind it. As horrible as it is and disagreeable as it is.
Yes. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, we at the Black Tower do not condone the collaring and or slavery.
Do not go out collaring your local channelers.
Unless you give consent.
I was gonna say, if your local channeler says that that's what they're into, go ahead, make sure you have a safe word.
Call her me daddy. So we go on to the next
Egwene is
sort
so
of,
triggered
you know,
right now.
and this is Rand is doing a little leapfrog of temper tantrums. And the next one we find is they get some intel that Grendel is hiding in Natrin's
Who-
Barrow, which
Reminder,
is an old
was part of the Semirog losing his hand, almost killing Min thing.
Yeah, exactly. So he's still pretty sore about
Literally.
that. So they find out that they're hiding there, and he's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna take the chance. And you know that saying when Confucius say, "Don't use a cannon to kill a mosquito."
Oh, he uses a cannon.
I don't think Rand ever heard it.
Yeah. He used a naval destroyer to kill a gnat. He went and got the link to the Choden Call, the male half of the Choden Call,
The only
And
remaining part of the Choden
with
Call.
the full force.
Chode.
The only yes, hey and with the full force of the most powerful Sangreal, unleashes a hail of balefire and wipes out the
Does this sound
entire
familiar from the
establishment.
Age of Legends?
Yes.
So you can understand why
So-
hearing the stories, people like Min, Nynaeve, Cat Swain, even though they weren't there, would have Vietnam style flashbacks about this.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a terrifying thing. And then to think about the fact that balefire is one of those things that's forbidden because you cut enough threads in the pattern and you start to unravel the pattern. It's like that ratty old sweater that your grandma gave you 20 years ago. That thing's falling apart.
Maybe
because
yours. Mine
each
was
thread has
woven
been
with power,
balefired
so it doesn't
one by
deteriorate.
one. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Suck it, you
brag
bro.
on shit. And at this point in time, Nynaeve is like, okay, enough is enough. This is terrifying. She's horrified at what Rand just did.
Oh, the
Horrified.
humanity!
And she and Cad Swain, I believe. No, Cad Swain says this is enough is enough. She's doing that whole I'm going to help Rand whether or not he wants to. And enough is enough, and I'm going to do it. And Cad Swain says to Nynaeve, you better get Rand's dad here. That's the only one that's going to have any connection to him at this point in time. Because he's even scared to open up to Min anymore because he doesn't want
Okay, there you are.
her to be used against him. He doesn't want that connection to be used against him again. And so Cad Swain says, Nynaeve, you need to get his dad here. And so Nynaeve brings Tam to Rand. And they have a conversation. And Tam is going, hey, son, it's a heartbreaking scene. It absolutely is. And this episode's kind of a somber, a little bit more of a somber episode because these are very, very heavy emotional plots. And
Michael
themes
McKelton, you get ready for season 12 of this television show.
He's gonna knock it out the park. I really think, because one of the things they said was that he had emotional weight in his audition, and I really think that they had him read some of these scenes. At least I hope so. But Rand gets pissed. He goes full Anakin Skywalker. Once he sees, you have that moment where Padme's standing in front of him, and you think, oh, maybe he's
turned her against me.
And then he sees Obi-Wan, and Rand,
of course,
does
Obi-Wan
the same thing,
Swain.
and damn near kills Tam.
I mean, they look
in
very
this case,
similar.
Obi-Wan is Cat Swain.
Honestly, if Ewan McGregor doesn't play Cad Swain,
Padme is Tam.
I think it's going to be a travesty.
And I think that's a theme that speaks to people, is you're already emotionally distressed, you're already emotionally compromised, and then someone tells you that you're kind of acting like a dick, and that's not the thing you really want to hear. It may be tough love, it may be something you need to hear.
Well, and of
So
course,
again,
it's
once
the
again,
cop out.
if you're
It's
feeling
actually
depressed,
there is a huge similarity here, and I totally agree
right,
with you that again, you have Padme and Tam standing in front of these two characters who are on the precipice of evil. I mean, like,
they're
granted, in this case, Rand killed a bunch of people and Grandal. And that is not nothing. He did kill Grandal, but he did also kill a number of
Yes.
innocents. And I will admit that overall, I think that Anakin's killing of the younglings is probably worse, just because there wasn't actually a benefit
yes,
in there. But again, it is a very
Yes.
close parallel here to where they are standing on the very edge of making a decision of going to the light or going to the dark, and this is their last chance. And Padme and
Right.
Tam are standing in front of these two characters, and they are saying exactly what they need to hear in a lot of ways. And again, in some ways it's tough love, in some ways it's whatever. But when the person finds out, not necessarily the substance of their argument, but where they came from, they just
Exactly.
have such an excuse to shut down and not listen to that person. And it's very sad and
Right.
very realistic.
And in this case, this and where our metaphor ends is Anakin, of course, goes
Yes.
off the deep end. He doesn't ever recover. He doesn't ever come back until, decades later when he
When he
and
meets
Luke
his son.
are, going at it in Return of the Jedi.
Going at it.
But Rand has a hey-o,
I didn't
has
see
a
the
similar,
same Return of the Jedi as you did, apparently.
You didn't watch Rule 34, Return of the Jedi?
I mean, I
What?
have. That wasn't the one that Lucas put out, though.
So Rand gets pissed off and, I mean, almost kills Tam. Like, it's a really, really terrible moment. And Rand kind of has a lucid, sobering, oh shit,
Yeah,
what
he has
am I
a come to
doing
Jesus moment right before he kills Tam.
And he
in
travels.
In this situation, would it be a come to himself moment? Because Rand is Jesus?
Yes. He has a come
there
to
you
dragon
go.
moment. Hey, yo.
Kinky.
And travels to the top of
Yarp.
Dragon Mount. The previous site of his death. And
Well,
one of the
actually,
most
he doesn't
beautiful
go to Dragon
things
Mount
I
first.
loved-
Abu Dhar.
He actually goes
Not
to Abu
first.
Dhar.
He
and
ends
this
up at
is the
Dragon
moment
Mount.
where I was talking about earlier, where he goes to Abu Dhar intending to destroy the entire Shan Chan army. He is so pissed about
Right.
this situation that he was in before, where the meeting with Tuon went badly, and he hears about the attack on the White Tower, and he is incensed. And so he goes from, I almost killed my dad, to traveling to Abu Dhar to say, I'm going to take care of this problem. And before he gets a chance to, he does have this moment of hesitation and really realizes that for all of their faults, and as we have talked about, the Shan Chan have many, there are a bunch of really good things that the Shan Chan are doing.
Right.
And the safety and the peace and the all of the wonderful things that are happening to the Shan Chan's citizens in Abu Dhar,
Yes.
and their willingness to help him when he sort of hesitates for a moment and gets hit with his channeling sickness, is what they call it in the wiki, and I think that's not a bad representation. They all rush to his aid, everyone who is around him absolutely just rushes to him to help him, because that is what they've been taught. And for all of the bad military and collaring and whatnot that they've done, the Shan Chan sort of citizens and the normies of the Shan Chan nation are really well taken care of. And that's something he can't get past, because of course he's only seeing their army. He's only seeing the part that he needs to be fearful of. And when he sees the other side of the coin, he stops. And then he travels to Dragon Mount.
Right. And he travels to Dragon, and I'll put one more sort of aspect that I really, really love about this scene before I let Andrew, I'll let you wrap it up. But I love Perrin is talking to the wolves, and the wolves are going, "We wait." And Perrin's like, "Why? What's going on? What's going on?" And the wolves are like, "Either we'll die or we won't." And Perrin's like, "Wait, what are you talking about? What's happening?" And it's not just like one wolf. It's like every wolf he can sense, they are all at the foot of Dragon Mount, and they are all waiting. And he's unnerved at how calm the wolves are, and they're going, "We wait." And they're just waiting there at the foot of Dragon Mount, and Perrin's freaking the fuck out, as he probably should.
Oh yeah, I got it.
You can go ahead. Do you want to take it, Andrew? You don't have to if you don't want to.
It's so great that we get these little tidbits of these other groups of entities that have the insight on what's going on. The wolves can sense something is about to happen, and it means either we survive or we're all going to die right here and now. And because of the way that they look at life, waking from the dream, much like the IL feel as it is, they're just completely at peace with whatever happens. It's awesome.
Yep.
So, almost completely consumed and very nearly, if not beyond insane, with rage and absolute grief at just everything that has happened over, I don't know, let's just say being courteous, the last 6 books. Rand travels to Dragon Mount. I don't even think he consciously travels to Dragon Mount. I think he just says, "I need to go somewhere," and finds himself on Dragon Mount.
Yeah.
A location where we know Luce, Theron, Telamon, the voice in his head, Kinslayer, whatever, killed himself upon realizing...
I mean, miles below where he's standing, but no. But yes, on the exact same longitude and latitude.
Rand gets this Hamlet-esque, beautiful but morbid internal monologue that Luce Theron is a part of about how life is futile, how futile it is to live life and to be bound to the wheel and repeat the pattern that keeps going and going. Because at this point, he feels that everything that's already happened, everything that I know and been taught that's happened in the past is just going to happen again. The Dark One is inevitably going to win. It's fucking pointless. This is full high school, middle school emo music straight out the bat. Yeah.
So nihilism.
He sees his side and uses the Choden Call, and he's drawing more power than he ever has. And I think it's actually described in the book as he draws so much power that the world is blinded to him. All he can see is shining, just pure white light in his eyes. And in an absolute, he's prepared to destroy the world and end everybody's suffering and just say, fuck it, wiping the slate clean. If we start over, we start over.
Which is kind of funny, because this is the moment where Rand al'Thor becomes Daenerys Targaryen for just a moment. He's like, "Oh, the wheel is the problem? Cool. Then how about we just destroy the wheel?" If I just destroy the whole world, then this cycle can't
And what we
continue.
get is through the entirety of the series to this point, that we have been exposed to the voice of Lews Therin. It has always been a stark, raving, mad, insane man grasping at any straw he can to just die, to end everything, to basically commit the very thought.
Ileana.
Yeah, to act on the thoughts that Rand himself has expressed now. But the Lews Therin we get at this absolutely crucial tipping point is the most zen rational Lews Therin. It has to be the Lews Therin that the world knew before he was driven insane in the Dark One's counterstroke. And in an absolute moment of go ahead.
Yes, well, and to be completely honest, I will also throw out there that last book or the book before, I can't 100% remember exactly when the conversation happens. We do actually sort of definitively find out that Lews Therin is
we did
not
talk
real.
about that. I think it was the last book.
He is absolutely a figment of Rand's imagination and his way to cope with the madness that is eating
I think the
him
audio
alive. And so it's kind of humorous.
I think the audio glitched just perfectly to make it sound like you said figment. That's why I laughed.
Yeah, figment.
I'm blaming
of
the
his
audio. But it
imagination.
was still funny.
Yes.
That's the word I used.
Figment is the word.
Anyway.
Are you fucking trolling my ass or are you being serious right now?
How about calm down before I come over there and I shoot you with an arrow soft gun? Yes, it is a figment. You are totally correct.
I thought it was
apologize.
audio
I
glitch.
did add an
Man,
extra
fine.
syllable. Nope, it was me. It was me.
That's
I'm
good.
an idiot. But anyway,
I love it.
It is a coping mechanism that Rand has created, which is kind of humorous because, of course, all the way up until this point, as you have already stated, Lews Therin is the side of Rand that just wants to go postal. It wants to kill Taim. It wants to burn the world. It wants to fucking cry over a person he's never even met and murder himself. And then all of a sudden, when Rand becomes that entity, when Rand has gone off the deep end and he has lost himself, what steps in as the calming voice of reason, but his fake alter ego, Lews Therin. And it's kind of hilarious that, again, Lews Therin is just whatever is the opposite of Rand right now. That's all it is. Just Lews Therin is just whatever is the opposite of
the dialogue that happens with Lews Therin. Because you get the now pro-life Lews Therin that basically says, like, hey, maybe by being reborn into this same soul, this same life, it's done so you have the chance to do things right where you fucked it up before. And Rand is sitting there.
You have a chance. To
and Rand is sitting there holding the world's several worlds strong, or several leagues stronger than the world's powerful nuke's worth of power in his hands. And does like he goes, you know what? You're right. And so he takes all the power that he has now held within himself and turns it back against the Chodan Call and destroys it. And like basically in a moment.
Which again is kind of humorous because he's looking at it being like, you know what, Lews Therin, who's also just me, you're right.
And seeing the temptation and the danger that the Chodan Call poses, he's like, and this has to go away right now.
Yes.
And
indeed.
And it's really great because, you know, as it is kind of funny that, you know, he's having these arguments with himself. But at the same time, it shows how insane he already is and how kind of lucky the world is that he manages to find some
literally all he finds
lucid
is a reason to live, and therefore the world gets to live. And it's in this moment that we already know that drawing too much of the power will burn you out, if not straight kill you. And Rand was like, the needle was bouncing in the red. All right, it was at the limit, saying like, any more and you're going to die. And he just, overclocked, and the
He was
temperatures in his
overclocked.
fucking computer were going nuts. And just before everything melted down, he releases it, and it has the bonus effect of pseudo cleansing / compartmentalizing his madness. And so after all this is done, Rand releases the power, the Totem Call is destroyed, and Rand is standing on the top of Dragon Mount laughing. And there's all these clouds that have been over the Westlands for weeks and weeks, and they finally break. And I believe it's in the epilogue that it's Egwene in the... Is she in the hall or sitting at the Amerlin's seat? In the study.
She's in the study,
the back of the room has been blown out from the invasion. She can see Dragon Mount. Everybody could tell, that something was going on there, but they weren't sure. And then there's the sun. Yeah, and then there's the
something's
sun
happening on there. Yeah,
that comes through. And of course, she's got this feeling that something.
Here comes the sun.
And she's got this feeling that something amazing just happened. And we get Rand that gets to come down the mountains, just all. And we get Zen Rand, which you've all been waiting to meet since we talked about Darth Rand.
Indeed. Which, again, going back to sort of that comparison, and I actually think that there is so much to be said here. Just whether you actually think that this is any commentary that Robert Jordan or Brandon Sanderson was trying to make, it really does, in my view, kind of come down a lot to a little bit of like a talk about mental illness and PTSD and everything like that.
Yeah.
In terms of the fact that he really has come to terms, quote unquote, with the fact that he has one, because in the last book, he was told that he has one.
Yes.
And it's not an actual entity. It's not actually Luz Theron existing in his own head, blah, blah, blah. It's just a disorder in some ways that he has. But in this book, is the one where not only does he come to terms with it, not only does he accept it, but he finally admits in some ways to himself and the rest of the world that this is something that makes him who he is. And fully accepts and internalizes and melds with the fact that he doesn't need to fight against this anymore. That this is something that is just a part of him. And that realization and that acceptance and that whatever actually allows him to just be all of the facets of his personality that exist within him, rather than compartmentalizing them and only allowing one or some or whatever to come out into the open and be present. All of him is actually just all of him. And he really does sort of realize that all of him is what the world needs.
All of me loves all of you.
But no, I think that's why the wiki has Egwene's character arc as secondary, because this is a really big moment in the series, because this is, as the Wolves put it, this is the deciding factor. This is, at this moment, they say,
put Perrin in a full-on panic. The fuck you
and
mean,
when
bro?
Rand sort of has that revelation and says, yeah, he did.
We die, we
and then
die.
When Rand has that
not if we die, we die. What the fuck?
And when Rand has that revelation and he says, okay, we're good, the wolves, like it's kind of like a signal for them, which leads me to believe that wolves also have some form of, prophecy or legend or story
About
or something
Shadow
like
Killer.
that. Once this happens, the wolves go, "We're good. We got this." Tarman Gaiden
Well,
is
and
all
the funny
but won.
thing is that honestly,
And,
at this point is where I imagine that since wolves can't travel, they can't, use the power technically or do whatever. Presumably, they're like kind of all gathered around Dragonmount, but like there are wolves everywhere. It's not just around Dragonmount. There's just a large contingent. Right. And then this moment happens and they all go, "All right, Tarman's Gap, here we come. Let's go." And they just start running. Just every wolf from everywhere in Randland is just like, cool. So this direction, we're just going to run there. And if we make it, we make it.
Yes. And it's just, it's great. I absolutely love it. So review, I guess, for this
Pretty sure
book,
that happens in this book, by the way, with the wolves.
You what?
Because it's Aaron's conversation.
I'm pretty
with Hopper,
sure
right?
that happens in this book. Yeah, this does happen in this book.
Yeah, if that's the conversation, if it's the conversation between Perrin and Hopper, that happens in Towers of Midnight.
Sorry, it's not that conversation. It's his portion of.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you.
That's basically what's happening. Now, they do have a more in-depth conversation about kind of what happened and whatnot when he talks to Hopper in the next book. You're totally correct. But this, where just he is actually reaching out to the wolves that are still alive, that actually happens in this book.
Right.
Because Hopper is no longer alive. He's in
Perrin opens his eyes to find himself floating.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're in the wolf dream. The sky is stormy with unusual violent clouds. Hopper tells him to jump down and says the last hunt comes, and says that if Shadow Killer, which is Rand, falls to the storm, all will sleep forever.
Right.
Yep.
So this one, Brandon Sanderson, this is the first book that Brandon Sanderson undertook.
And it was the one that convinced me he was the right choice.
Oh, absolutely. It set the tone for the final two books that, damn.
And if I'm being
Robert
completely
Jordan
honest,
Harriet,
Towers of Midnight is a good book. It is. But it was not the one that I loved.
Really is.
Obviously, A Memory of Light is absolutely amazing, and one of the things that make it so amazing is the untouched last battle that Robert Jordan wrote. But The Gathering Storm sets such a good tone for Brandon Sanderson being able to make this series somewhat his own, while also absolutely keeping with all of the reasons that people read through 11 books of Robert Jordan's writing. And it's great.
He did such an amazing job. He really did. He did an amazing job. So Brandon Sanderson, I know you listen. I know you're a regular listener. Thank you for that. But no, shout out to Brandon Sanderson, who did just an absolutely amazing job of enriching and continuing the story that we all know and love.
And no worry, Brandon, there's no hard feelings that you decided to go on Daniel's YouTube channel before talking to us. We're cool with it.
Yeah, no, it's
Wait,
cool.
What?
Yeah, it's cool. We appreciate that.
You got to save the best for last.
Yeah.
Wait, what now?
Wait, you didn't see that, Daniel? Yeah.
Yeah, he went on Daniel.
The other Daniel, Daniel Green's. Not your.
Yeah,
not
I was gonna
YouTube
say.
channel.
I was like, I'm pretty fucking sure.
If you got
there was nobody named Brandon Sanderson on my YouTube channel. What the shit, guys?
I have met Brandon Sanderson, by the way. Just bragging.
Hey,
for a moment. Played Magic the Gathering with him, actually.
Hey, Josh. You know how many people care about what you're talking about right now?
All of them do.
All of us? Shut up. I really want to play Magic with Brandon Sanderson. Why would you do this to me? Brandon Sanderson, since you are a regular listener, if you come out to California, to Los Angeles, I will put you up. I will absolutely take you out to wherever you want to go, and we can play Magic, and that would be all that I really want in my life.
No, what's going to happen is Andrew's going to move to Utah, and then we're going to drive down to Provo, where he is a professor, and you're just going to have to drive up to Utah with us.
100% down. Let's go.
That sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in for this absolutely fantastic episode of the Black Tower Podcast.
Los Tower
You guys are
Negro.
awesome. We love you. CC.
C'est bon. Wrong language, but it's great.
What are your thoughts on the
Indeed.
Gathering Storm? You know, talk to us on Discord, talk to us on Twitter, talk to us.
Indeed.
Talk to
And
us,
I
please.
do
We're-
apologize. It was actually brought to my
Somebody talk to
attention
us.
by Andrew not too long ago that the link to our Discord in our older episodes is expired. I did not realize it did that, but the one in the last two episodes,
Not supposed to. It's always been set to never expire, but I imagine after
Perhaps.
like updates and stuff.
but the
it
one
will.
in our last two episodes, as well as I imagine the one that is going to go in the description of this, those totally work. So please come join us. We have a lot of fun on there, and we'd love to have you. As well as on Twitter and all of the other places.
Agreed. What he said.
Yeah. What he done did said to the
Yeah.
nice peoples now.
What I done did there.
So
Ah, yes. So, thank you for tuning in.
for
Thank you for listening.
score in 70 years in the past, read the sleeves, and now I'm here to kick your ass.
From all of us at the Black Tower, we thank you. I have been Collard.
I have been Daniel.
And I have been transformed into Zen Andrew.
Zandrew.
Zandrew.
Good night,
That's good.
everybody.